Greetings, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where you are. So, we are here today at this hour of the day to update you on the South African election. So, South Africa has decided finally the votes have been counted. So, to update about that, to get an update and really what it means with the result and everything, there is a big change. We have here Dr. Hermon Berhane Ogba Mikael. He has updated us a couple of days ago, so he is here to give us the final tea. Dr. Hermon is the head of journalism department or program in the Cape Peninsula University of Technology in South Africa. Welcome, Dr. Hermon.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mahlet.
Thank you. No, the pleasure is ours. It's always good to have you here. So they say, we have read and heard South Africa has decided, and this decision that has been made by the people with their vote is something different from the past, more than 3 decades, can we say? Ever since they got their independence from apartheid. Tell us, what does that mean? When ANC lost its majority, like, what does that mean? We really want to grasp it?
Yeah, it's very interesting. When Nelson Mandela came in power, as a president in 1994, it was, I think, about 70%. I mean, because there was a new democratic dispensation and people had a different dream about the country and the nation. Now, in the last election, ANC had about 58%. Interestingly, now there is this new party, Mkonto Wesizwe, or they call it MK, emerged, and it was led by former President Jacob Zuma. So it was very obvious that some election would go to MK and even to some extent not only ANC but also the Economic Freedom Party, EFF, has been also affected because EFF had about, I think, over 11% in the previous election. If I'm not wrong, was it 13%? But now they went down to 9% and ANC on 40%. So you see there was an 18% less from the previous election. And for EFF, it looks also some votes might have gone to MK, and DA, the Democratic Alliance, also went up by 3% from the previous one, from about 22 to almost 25%. So it's interesting times. Yeah.
So is this for the first time for DA to compete in election?
No. They have been as a party for. They have been the main opposition party in the country. I think they evolved from the New National Party. Then they have evolved from there, and it's a center-right party in terms of ideology, as opposite to ANC, which is a little bit leftist, and EFF the same, and MK to some extent.
Okay, so in terms of numbers, then ANC in the last election had 58, you said, right?
Yeah.
Now
Yes.
they have 40. That's a major loss. Did they say 40 or no?
40, yeah.
Yeah.
Because MK has already taken 15%. So I'm sure that some votes, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, where Zuma is hailed from, some majority of votes might have gone to MK than to ANC.
So Zuma was ANC, so it's something, another wing, not wing really, but something that came out of ANC, this MK party. And the people are also who were in ANC.
Yeah, most of Zuma himself was a member of ANC.
Yeah.
But because of this corruption issue, that he went to prison, so he was suspended from ANC. So I think it was a reaction that he had formed along with his comrades. He had formed the MK, and MK or Mkonto Wesizwe is historically the military wing of the ANC.
So that is like more right, like more conservative than ANC. It's like they have the same principles, foundations, where they come from, or it's something totally, it comes with new ideology.
No, it's more or less the same agenda. MK also still believes on the expropriation of land, and at the same time, they believe also on black economic empowerment. So the ANC has the same ideology as well, the same policy.
So with who now most likely ANC will create a coalition, because they have to. We have heard it might be EFF. Is it possible for them to do it with MK? So what will be the most likely coalition partner with ANC?
Yeah, DA has indicated Mr. John Stayheisen, the head of DA, has actually uh, given some light that there is a possible coalition, but there will be some differences
Yeah.
because they have to align their policies if they are about to go for coalition, because DA, is, as I have said, is center right, and they don't believe in this expropriation of land. They believe that that can create some chaos. I mean, some possible problems that has. I mean, as according to him, like he mentioned, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, and so on, they have a different ideology. But the ANC has a different ideology in terms of land issue, in terms of black economic empowerment, in terms of the public sector. The DA is more into the private sector boom, you know. So this there will be differences, but if they focus on their similarities in terms of policy, or if they could align, yeah, so it needs some sort of negotiation. Yeah. But there is also a possible coalition with MK, but President Zuma and the current president
Rama.
Cyril Ramaphosa, they have certain issues. So I don't think former President Zuma would choose to have a coalition if the Cyril Ramaphosa continues as the president. That is according to him, yeah.
Ah,
But there
okay.
is a possibility.
But it's those the parties that has still, I mean, amongst all these parties, the major ones, still ANC has the higher, more percentage. It's just that less than what it had before. But is there a possibility that if a coalition is formed, then the president will be different? What does coalition means? First of all, let's discuss
Not
that.
necessarily. No, the coalition,
Of two
yeah,
political.
coalition doesn't
Yeah.
mean that. I mean, the ANC has got 40%, then they will nominate the president, and possibly at the head of the ANC, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be re-elected. But coalition means in terms of who will run the country uh, politically, economically, all other aspects. So coalition means the coalition in terms of governing the country, not coalition in terms of who will be chosen as a president.
So that will be appointing of some ministers from the one who just created partnership with ANC. Those kind of sharing of power will be there, although the appointing presidency will be still in the hands of ANC. Now, ANC, it's as we said, it's a party, an old party that led the struggle against apartheid, and it has been there, for the past more than 3 decades. And what does this mean now for South Africa politics and in terms of Pan-Africanism? What does this mean? And considering
Well,
the PS unexpected high in number of votes.
well, ANC has been seen all the time as the Pan-Africanist. Also, in terms of putting the African agenda first has been on the ANC stable. But DA, on the other hand, is more westernized. I mean, if you see even this Russia-Ukraine war, they are pro-Western, pro-NATO instead of pro-Russia. In terms of BRICS, for example, South Africa is one of the members, actually one of the 5 members that actually have started BRICS. So there will be some sort of issue in terms of the African agenda. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't see DA as advancing the African interests. There might be some good people inside there who might think Africa as one African unity, but they are more into Western society, Western countries. It's. I mean, you can't fight neocolonialism with DA, but we can with ANC.
Exactly.
That's my personal opinion. The same EFF is leftist. They are more into African unity. Same with MK, that I'm sure. But DA is a different. It came from a different historical background. It's also dominated by white South Africans. I'm not necessarily saying that they are not. They don't consider themselves as African, but I don't think that African unity is in their main agenda. So that could be a different scenario.
Yeah, it's a minus. Yeah, definitely. I have followed DA, and as you said, in BRICS during the Ukraine-Russia war and others, it's totally, it takes a different opposite route, or they are totally opposite on the principles that ANC government is standing for now. So they are second in place. Somebody has a question. Maybe I'll throw that question in the middle. Catherine, first of all, thank you for all of you for rooting here, for streaming in with us. Catherine had a question. It says, how did the DA party come second? Are we saying that Black South African voted for the DA party instead of EFF? It's a question from the audience.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I have had this question asked from other media as well. Well, first of all, I understand that the whites in South Africa are about 7.1%, and the blacks are over 80%. Okay. And we have also the colored people, maybe over 10 or 12% of the population, and the Indian South Africans about 3-4%, and the rest some Asians or others. The DA has campaigned very aggressively to garner votes, not only here in Western Cape where they govern, but also in Gauteng province. There was massive campaigns. For example, they went out into the streets in Pretoria, Tshwane area, Tshwane province. So on top of that, very interestingly, there are these young people that are called born free generation, who were born after 1994. They don't actually associate themselves with any party anymore. They just look into who will create employment for me, who will deliver services, who will actually deal with this issue of load shedding, who will deal with against corruption. They have their own issues in mind, you know. They uh, don't actually align themselves based on the history of the country where black people were oppressed by the white minority during apartheid. So this born free generation might have most probably given their vote to DA or any other party. So that's why they picked up so much, more votes. That is the reason.
Yeah, but AFF still got less because it was about 11 or 13 last time, and now they what they finished is on the 9%. So it's less even compared to that. So it really looked, because I asked this a couple of days ago, and we were almost sure that AFF, if not winning, then they will have really a very good number or percentage sharing with ANC. That didn't happen. Is there anyone from these major candidates or major political parties that is saying this counting is not good? Is there some kind of mischieving? Did they all accept it as it is?
No, I think there are two things that might have affected the EFF. One is the MK party. So some votes that could have gone to EFF, I'm very sure that these votes have gone to MK party. That's why MK is on 15% and EFF on 9%. Assume that if there was no MK, some votes not to DA, some of these votes would go to ANC. That's why we were predicting about 43 to 45%, our prediction. And some votes that could have gone to MK would have gone to EFF, then EFF would be on 12 or more percent. The second reason could be because there are 70 parties that competed. We're not even mentioning the other parties. You know, they have also got some votes. And on top of the 70 political parties, there were about 11 independent people who also competed in the election. So those votes also need to be counted. So most probably those are the reasons why EFF might have lost some, not because they performed badly during the campaign. That could be the reason. It's just the votes spread to MK and other parties. They might have lost some numbers there.
So MK is a new party in town that that was able, successfully to steal some votes from ANC, to steal some votes from EFF. So this is so. How much percent DA has last time? Maybe that will help.
I think about 21%, if I remember quite well.
So they remained, they grew. Like now it is 26. They finished at 26 or 24% still.
About 25%.
Okay. So they have still their own white people loyal voters, and then they got some few more. Now I hope, Catherine, it's clear for you now. Somebody said ANC talk left, walks right. Do you agree with that? It's something I read now in the comments here.
Yeah, I think that could be right to some extent. I mean, ANC is leftist. That is what we know historically, because during the struggle, you use the Marxist ideology, the leftist ideology, to fight against the oppressors all over the world. But after 1994, to some extent, some of the ANC members might have actually forgot about the struggle. Sometimes people go for their individual benefits. There is always greed in politics. That's power maniacs, power dynamics. So some of them, what they do is uh, more like the center ideology or center right or right ideology. So, but on top of that, if you see the ANC, it seems that they believe in mixed economy. You see them talking about the public, talking about the land expropriation, talking about black empowerment and so on. But some people in the society also accuse the ANC of, you know, talking or focusing more on the private sector. Not only that, they believe that black empowerment has benefited only the elites in the ANC rather than the public. So to some extent, it makes sense. Yeah.
Nagasi asks, don't you think the ANC would fall apart if black voters saw an ANC-DA coalition? I'm not sure if I got it, if I understood it, but yeah, that's how it reads.
No, I think I understand it. Yeah, well, it makes sense, yeah, because if they continue to perform the way they are performing in terms of
You are frozen, Dr. Herman. Looks like some technical problem. Can you hear me, Dr. Herman? Yeah. So, yeah, he was trying to answer, to tackle this question, the last question. Don't you think the ANC would fall apart if black voters saw NCDA coalition? But in any case, it's not still clear with who the ANC will form a coalition with. But as Dr. Herman told us, he said DA kind of hinted that, but it will be. It's really sad that if ANC cannot form a coalition with MK and or EFF, or plus MK and EFF combined together, because that's really a risk for ANC to combine. I mean, to create a coalition with DA. Yeah, that would be really, really unfortunate. But Zuma and Ramaphosa are totally on a different page. I don't know how much they can avoid their differences and work together for the people of South Africa.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Is that power sharing or whatever? What do you call it? Load sharing.
Yeah, just stop it. Yeah.
Okay,
So I would
so you were
continue
answering
from.
his question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were talking about. Yeah. I mean, if the ANC continues not to perform as it intends it to be, like load shedding issue has been a big issue. Unemployment also 32% uh,
Wow,
uh,
really?
unemployment, which is massive. Yeah, I mean, it was 34, then went down to about 32.4 or something. And these 65% are aged between 15 to 24 years old. Okay, so these issues, service delivery as well, an issue of corruption. If all these things have not been resolved, if the DA or any other party tries to excel, leverage on that, then in 5 years to come, then you never know. You never know. The DA might go higher and the ANC might go lower again. Okay, so there is a possibility that by 2029 we might see another scenario. I myself personally have always been saying, I mean, even since 2015, there were some indications, there were some lights that you can see that the ANC would go down to this percentage. So there is a possibility that they might lose more. But people always say that the ANC cannot be destroyed from the external forces, but it can only destroy itself, which means there were also some sort of squabbles. I mean, Zuma and now people who have joined him were also part of the ANC. What does that tell you? So it means there are some internal issues. Good thing about ANC, there is internal democracy where you don't find in other parties. Other parties usually don't tolerate differences. But within ANC, there are always differences and tolerated. But that could be also detrimental at times because if there are differences, then there is splinter groups. COP, for example, one of the parties by Mr. Lekota, he was also part of the ANC. And later on, he reacted, I don't know, to be out of anger, he started his own party. And some others like Action SA, Herman Mashaba, these guys were part of ANC, but they have their own party. So what I'm saying is there are these kind of trends coming within the ANC. So possibly it can fall out at one time in point in few years to come, if they don't fix or if they don't come with any different strategy to deal with the current issues in South Africa.
Interesting. What is the mood of the South Africans as of the latest now? They have seen ANC has lost the majority. Now there's a talk. What does it look like if you have been able to talk to people going around?
Mm. Naturally, those who support the ANC would be frustrated. They can see that things are not right for the ANC. But those who were even voting the ANC, who might have voted the MK or DA or EFF, they see some, some hope that there will be more jobs, load shedding will be resolved, corruption issues will be dealt with, service delivery will be improved. So it depends who you vote, I mean, because when you vote, you see some hope that the party that you voted would come up with some solutions to the problems that you think that are afflicting the country. So there are different opinions in the society. But most people are talking about, oh, the ANC has gone down, the ANC is like falling apart, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's clear. So Nagasi is saying his question is not answered. Maybe this time it's clearer. He said,
Mm.
"Don't you think black voters move to MK party after seeing their party working with white DA?" That means those black voters from ANC. I think that's what he means. Again, I repeat it.
Mm.
Don't you think black voters move to MK party after seeing their party working with white DA? with the white party DA. Is that clear?
Not, it's clear, yeah, not necessarily, yeah. Because, former President Jacob Zuma had so many supporters, more than you think, more than even the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa. I can assure you on that.
Wow.
When Zuma was about to be sent to jail, so many people died in July, I think, sometime in July 2021, because they were supporting Zuma, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. Imagine also, KwaZulu-Natal is the highest population in this country is Zulu-speaking people who actually support Zuma more than any other candidate. So those who within the ANC who were supporting or voting for ANC, they all migrated. They all went and supported the MK or Umkhonto weSizwe party. So that is one of the main reasons. I don't think it has anything to do with DA.
But will this ANC supporters, in any case, we are talking about the next one, if they see that now ANC creating coalition with DA instead of MK or other black parties, that they will not be disappointed? That will not affect the next election, how these numbers are?
Yeah, it's just a political process, but you are right in terms of perception. Many people, black people who support the ANC or any other black party, they usually do not want to associate themselves with the DA or what they call it, white dominated party. So definitely their perception would not be positive.
Yeah, so in any case, if I got Nagasi's question good, now the NC people even be more disappointed by their party if they create this coalition with DA, and that will guarantee for the next one that more votes will go to MK. I think that's the conclusion he's trying to reach at. Yeah, do you agree with that? Maybe, or not necessarily.
Perhaps, yes.
Yeah. Are there only two coalition options? Missed numbers run down. Are there only two coalition options? I don't think so. But in terms of they have to create with those at least who are higher in numbers next to them. It's a question from Anton Delema. Are there only two coalition options?
Actually, it's an issue of how many seats will the ANC get now in the National Assembly. They will not have the seats that they had before. So also having more votes means for DA, they will have more seats in the National Assembly. If having less votes, it means they will have less people representing in the National Assembly seats. And for MK, they will have more seats, more than, there is a fair representation in terms of numbers as per the votes. So that means then the ANC will have to look for the best partner. A party that has more votes, most probably, which is DA. But as I have said, there are differences in terms of ideology, in terms of policies as well. About issue of land is still very central in the ANC policy about black economic empowerment as well, where we used to call it equity. Opportunity. Equity is always discussed in terms of employment, in terms of, let's say, opportunities, in terms of whatever representations in parastatals or any other sector. So will the DA accept that? Then that is the question that remains to be answered. So there will be pre-election, I think, negotiation or some sort of consulting that DA will make before also they make a decision. But the DA is not also ruling out that there could be coalition with the ANC, but the ANC can have also another alternative with MK, because MK is a little bit of headache now to the ANC, because they have actually challenged the ANC to some extent. But also, as I have said, there are other parties. I mean, 70 parties contested. So there are other parties also that the ANC may look for, because the DA actually have already signed a pact or an agreement with about 10 smaller parties
Wow.
already, strategic partners. So the ANC will have to do the same. There is no any other option. Whether the members will agree or not, they will have to convince the members as to why they need coalition.
Interesting development. I mean, change in this election for South Africa. I'm really interested, to see how will this play for the majority, and I'm more interested to the Black people. How will this play out now? How does this situation affect foreigners in South Africa? Many new radical parties are getting seats in parliament. You mean foreigners, including those who come from the continent, I believe, and outside of the continent? Will it affect? Is there any? Can we predict anything as of now, Dr. Herman? Again, it's Legacy's question.
Okay, definitely. The ANC has always been accommodating to foreigners, especially African foreigners. Usually, here in South Africa, when they talk about foreigner, they don't refer it to the European foreigner or American foreigner or Canadian foreigner. Usually, they refer to either an African foreigner or, after that, Asian foreigner, whether it is a Pakistani, Indian, Bangladeshi, or all those people. Now, as I have said, the ANC has been very accommodating to the African refugees or asylum seekers all the time. EFF has always been one Africa thinking and defending the African foreigners here. But DA, I don't think they have a positive thing. They always talk about people are jumping from the neighboring countries and getting in illegally and so on. It's not about whether legal or not illegal. You have to be legal anyway in any country. But it's about the perception. Yeah. Their perception about the African foreigners is yet to be seen. I don't want to speculate, but I'm sure there will be some issue in terms of immigration, especially refugees and asylum seekers may be affected to some extent.
Yeah, that's really scary. But with EFF, they only needed a few. It's a comment I'm reading. With EFF, they only needed a few points from those many in other, meaning in other parties. Is that what you meant, Anton Dalema? Is it clear, Dr. Herman? It's
Yeah,
a
can you?
statement. It's not a question, but if you want to comment. With EFF, they only needed a few points from those many in other. Maybe not.
Maybe
Oh.
it's compared to other parties. Well, 9% is not also a bad thing. I mean, it means it's the fourth largest party in the country. So 9% is not a small vote as well. We're just saying that they could have done better. Some votes have gone to other parties instead of EFF. Definitely, those votes didn't go to ANC, not to DA, but to MK. That I can assure you.
Will we be fantasizing if we say that maybe we can say a coalition of ANC plus MK plus EFF or not?
No, ANC, I don't think they can form coalition with EFF. The political ideologies are very radical when it comes to EFF. They don't negotiate with their policies, as far as I understand. It's very clear. No, it can't happen. But MK has similar views and ideologies and possible later on policies that can work with ANC.
Okay, so I think this one we have answered. Blade 347 is asking, do you think coalition between ANC and MK will work? I mean, you said, you told us there are some policy differences. So, and Zuma, and personally, Zuma and Ramaphosa are totally opposite. They have their own personal competition. I don't know.
You cannot rule out. You cannot rule out there is a possible coalition that is coming. This is politics. In politics, you usually weigh the advantage. You always weigh strategically what is the best for your own party as well, because MK also needs to survive. Okay, because MK also needs to demonstrate or show how good they are. So it's not. It can be a euphoria now, but there is lots of work ahead of them. So it's not only for ANC but also for MK. It's an advantage to be in coalition with the ANC.
So with some give and take, compromisation, it could be a possibility. But again, it might be hard to rule out. Will South Africans, I'm talking about the Black South Africans, be happy to see a coalition between ANC and MK, or ANC, MK, EFF, ZANDA, or it really doesn't matter at this time for them?
It depends. The old generation are usually stuck in their own old mind. That's my view. If not all, but the majority. And the new generation, actually, I don't think it matters to them. Yeah, they disassociate themselves to some extent from the historical facts. What happened before 1994? What happened during apartheid? They care about what is needed in the country today, or what is
so unfortunate. That's very disappointing to even for me to hear. Not South African, but that really saddens me. I mean, you have to know where you come from.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying that they don't know their history. They know,
but to really not care about it.
They are more into the current reality for them than the past reality.
ANC plus EFF plus 10 seats / points others got. Zuma said the vote counting was irregular. He asked the result not to be announced. However, his demand is, I read that last night, but still they have announced it. He's just trying, to show still his importance. Maybe disappointed by the numbers he got, but I think that was it. Anything that you'd like to comment, what to expect next? Your last words regarding this. What are the things as big announcement we should expect after this, besides the coalition?
Well, nothing more to be expected. It's only the coalition that is now what people are talking ahead. Who might form with who, and what will be the result of the coalition based on what policies. So all these things that are yet to be unfolded. But about that, Zuma talking about irregularities, the IEC also said they are ready to recount it if necessary. They can review it. But that might not happen from what I see. But you never know what people like Zuma or other political parties think about the outcomes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Herman, for being here, for your time, and to update us what's going on with the South Africa's election. With a couple of days, you have done so, and then this time also, yeah. Thanks again for answering, also for accommodating not only mine but our audience's question, which we like here at PANAF, at Connect Africa, to interact with our audience and really to be able, if time allows it, to answer their question as we stream. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone for being here, for live streaming with us. And yeah, we will see you on the next one. Stay tuned in. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. If you like what we bring you here, so please go ahead and give it thumbs up and share the video with others. It helps us, it helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to help us further, you can donate through our PayPal account, which I have shared it here in the chat section, and you can find it in the description section. So one last comment: inviting DA into a coalition risks cementing legitimacy of white loaded party. You agree?
To some extent, yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Anton and Anton, Nagasi, Catherine, Blade, everyone for your active participation. Have a good evening, everyone, and ciao, ciao. Bye. Thank you, Dr. Herman.
Bye bye. Good night.
Ciao.
Ciao.